Hey, so what happened to the housing market here in Jacksonville this past week? Well, that's what I'm going to cover. Hey, did it finally crash? Did the bottom fall out? Is it on the way back up? What do? I go over these numbers in the back end of my MLS system where I cover all the active listing, that's what's for sale. Look at what's pending, look at what's sold, look at new construction, we look at those rates, and a whole lot more. So stay tuned, we got a lot to cover because this is Bubble Watch. I'm in season 2 and this is week 7. Hi, I'm Tom Kerr and I'm your host of the show Bubble Watch. That's where I look at the real numbers in real estate up here in the Jacksonville metro area, up here in this North Florida region. It encompasses about 9 counties. And that's where I take these numbers from the back end of my MLS. That's because I'm just a regular guy who happens to be a real estate agent, so I have access to an MLS account, and I share that with you every week where I look at these numbers. I take these numbers and I put them together in charts to make it easy for you to look at, to compare, and to see what this real estate market is really doing. And we look at this track record, and now that I've been doing it for over a year, we've got a lot of data to compare with and a lot of real year-over-year data for you to look at. Hey, you know what? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, because last week I got some thumbs down, and I just think that's amazing, because all I'm doing is showing you the numbers, the real numbers, what's going. But some people don't like it, or they may not like the headlines I show. And after watching this video, if you'd like to use me as your realtor for buying or selling a house up here in North Florida, then give me a call or shoot me an email at this number. Hey, let's get started with these charts and these numbers. And first thing we do is go back into the MLS, and I'm going to start off with those active listings. Okay, here we are in the back end of the Northeast Florida MLS, and what we're starting off with is these active listings. Available right now for sale, 5,775. Okay, next we look at the solds, and we go back 7 days, so 1 week, how many sold in this past 7 days, and we've got 578. Okay, contingent taking backup status. Okay, that there are ones that are under contract, but they're in contingency. And that can be like for home inspection, appraisals, or financing. And there's 938. Okay, now in the last 7 days, how many went into the pending status? That's where they leave under the contingencies and they go into pending, and these are all still under contract, and that's 664 in this last 7 days. Okay, next we're going to look at how many people withdrew their listings. Okay, these are people who had their properties listed and then took them off the market. 69 people did that. Okay, how many expired? And the difference is the ones with expired are the ones where they didn't take it off the market, but the listing contract expired and they're not on the market now, or at least they're not under a contract for a listing. And that's 120 homes expired. They did not sell. Okay, now let's look at new homes and the amount of new homes that sold in the last 7 days. That number is 150. And how many new homes are active and that's available for sale on the market right now? That is 1,708. Okay, I'm going to take all this data, I put it into Excel spreadsheets, and I clean it up so it makes it easier for you all to see. And we go over a lot more things with this, where I'm going to also look at, you know, the homes that sold below list, the percentage that sold below list, at list, above list, for both resale and new homes, and how people paid for them, and a whole lot more. Okay, before we get to those charts, let's look right now at some graphs here, and let's see what those crazy interest rates did this past week. Okay, here we are in the 30-year fixed, and as you can see, last week we were knocking on 7's door at 6.95. Well, we went over 7. We got a mixture of ups and downs, but it looks like this last up that just happened today really was the biggest increase in the whole week, and that pushed us over to 7. All right, let's see now what the VA is doing. And right here we see that last week it was 6.65, and it's knocking on 7. It's not 7 yet, but it's very close to it at 6.97. All right, let's check out. These are FHAs. And the FHA, same thing, a little bit better rate, was 6.63 last week. And now it's at 6.9, so it's knocking on 7's door also. All right, now we look at those graphs that show us the price per square foot and see how it's been going. It kind of flattened out there for like I think it's like 6 or 7 weeks has been steady. So let's see, did it go up or did it go down? Now remember last week they didn't update the current, so we're going to see what last week's did and see if they update for this week. And then we'll look at the inventory also. All right, let's look at that price per square foot right now. Right here we are in the price per square foot, and let's see, let's bring it down to here. And well, it didn't update for this week, so that blip that you see up right here, that's from last week. That's probably why they were hiding it from us, all right? I mean, we can see here we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks at 186 flat, and now after 7 weeks, we're going in the other direction. And this is after we've been on this slope going down. We haven't seen a bump up in a while here since, when was this? Back July of last year, so a year ago. So here we are. All right, let's look next door here at that inventory. Let's go 6 month and look at it's still down. Now that slope isn't going down as fast, but it is still going down. All right, next dip is the median price. Okay, let's look at this. Well, there's no trying to guess what it's doing. It's going up, and that goes along with that price per square foot. Next, let's look at the days on the market. And whoop, we got another dip. It had slowed down there. See how we had these little plateaued areas, and then now we dipped again. So what does this mean? Well, this days on market thing that we really got to watch, because I really feel that this is going to be going along with those when we show you the percentage of the houses that sold above list. I think there's a real correlation here. Because why? Because when they sell above list, that means there's multiple offers, it's quick, it's furious, and they don't stay on the market long. Okay, so we're starting to see that now. And then also these prices are going up too. And you know, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for people trying to get into the market first time. And I've got some numbers I got to show you, which makes it all, you know, people wonder why I can't afford a house now and people used to. Boy, I got something to show you. But first, let's look at a couple of headlines that go with all this. All right, right here, the U.S. is short more than 4 million homes. Well, right here they say there are simply not enough homes for the millions of people, okay? Unless we address the shortage of smaller, more affordable starter type homes, we risk leaving families without a seat, and it will only get worse over time. Next headline, the economy was supposed to cave in by now. It hasn't, and the GDP is set to rise again. How many times, if you've been watching this show, have you seen me say, we were told this, we were told that? Remember, we were told interest rates were going to be 8% in December. Didn't happen. We were told that the foreclosure gates were going to open up and we would be drowning in foreclosures. Has it happened? A lot of things haven't happened that we were told. So, but, you know, can they happen? Yeah, possibly. I mean, anything can happen, but we haven't seen that, you know, over this course. So let's look into this headline a little more. Now look at this here. In something of a surprise, though, the housing market appears to have bottomed out and might even be on the upswing. Manufacturing seems to have stabilized as well. All right, now I gotta show you some stunning numbers that I looked at. Compares the way it used to be and how it is now for people trying to buy a house, especially first-time home buyers. And this, first of all, I mean, if you've been watching me since day one, you already know a lot of my history. But I know I've got a lot of new people, so I'm gonna tell you. I bought my first house in 1982. Okay, in 1982, interest rates were about 18%. Okay. And it was, I mean, mortgages, it was astronomical, you know, to get a mortgage. But I still bought, even in that environment. Okay, back then, I had a pretty good job, paying about $10 an hour, okay? So that was $400 a week, okay? I bought my house for $72,000. It was listed at $80,000, but I paid $72,000. And so right there, it was like a 10% drop. I mean, because the market was really slow with, figure it out, interest rates at almost 18%. You figure what that market's going to be like. When you look at what it is now at 7%, although now it's been picking up. So, you know, but last year when it first changed, it was down. But let's look at a calculator and figure this out. This is astonishing. 400 times 52 weeks. So that means I was making about $20,800 a year. Now, I did work overtime in my job, so let's just round it out to where that is going to be $25,000 for the year. Okay? Now, I purchased that house for $72,000. Okay? Now, divide that by the $25,000 that I make a year. Keep going over. And that's, so that house is, it would take me 2.88 times my income to get to that, to pay for that house. Okay, let's look at, like, right now, what wages are now for a really good job, because I had a really good job then. So let's see what a really good job would pay and what the wages are. Multiply it by that 2.88, and let's see how much a house would be compared to when I had bought the house, my first house. Okay, good wages would be at like $35 an hour times 40 in a week, and then times that by 52 weeks in a year. So you're looking at $72,800, okay, for the year, okay? Now let's multiply that times 2.88. That means that you'd have to buy a house $209,664. Well, I tell you what, and if any of you have been looking at houses, there's hardly anything like that out here, especially that. Now, my house was move-in ready. I was turnkey. I just went and started living in it, okay? This, I mean, anything at this price, it's not going to be turnkey. It's a fixer-upper. Fixer-uppers are even under $300 right now, you know. And now to get into a house would be like $350. All right, let's look at that house that I bought. Okay, let's see what Zillow says about it as far as the Zestimate, an idea of what that house would be going for today. Okay, right here it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square feet. Okay. Their estimate is $473,000, okay? Now, down here they got his estimate range, because they can range anywhere from there. They're saying from 440 to 501, and they're taking into account different things about different houses in the neighborhood. I looked at some houses selling in the neighborhood, and you know, about the 450 would be it. But let's go with the low range, 440, okay? So let's look at that calculator, okay? And say that house, my first house that I bought, if I were to buy it today, okay, divide that by the 2.88 that it takes, I have to have an income of $152,777 to buy that same house I bought, my first house, to buy it today. You see how out of whack all this is? All right, but let's step it down a notch. Let's take a look at, let's say we found a house up here at $350,000, okay? What would it be if you had to buy a house that's $350,000? Because that is going to be what you're going to almost have to spend to get something comparable to what I got back then. All right, let's put those numbers in. All right, $350,000 house divided by that 2.88. $121,500. Well, that's still ridiculous. Okay, I mean, so you're over 100,000. So it's like, you know, I had somebody telling me, you know, how frustrated they were. I mean, they had a good job. They're making like 85,000 a year, which is a great job, and they can't even afford a house right now with all this. Now we're not even talking about the increase in taxes and insurance over then. Back then, my insurance, I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was, I'm guessing it was probably about $300 or $400 a year. So everything is going out of whack. That's why it's so hard for people now to get into houses, because we just don't have enough inventory to supply this. The supply and demand thing is a mess. And I'm telling you, when these rates come down into the 5s, it's all over again what we saw in 2021, only without the COVID. All right, let's get to these charts now. Let's put it all into the charts and let's compare with the previous weeks. All right, here we are, the main chart. And what I do is in yellow are the previous weeks. And then what's next to them here, we see I've got season 1, week 7, where I took the numbers. And where I get those, that was because this chart's been going all the way back to week 1. Okay, so then I took week 7, those numbers here, and then I just copy and pasted them over here, okay, on the side, so you can see. And this YOY is year over year. The difference between a year ago, and again, these are the real numbers that we have been looking at in my charts here for over a year, okay? Nothing made up, the actual numbers that came out of the MLS. All right, here we are, active 5775. Last year, 4781, so we have an increase of 20% more homes for sale than we did a year ago at this time. Now look at from last week, 5716, so we are seeing an increase, and even from the previous. So even though most of this inventory is going down, that inventory going down was just, those charts were just like Jacksonville, but this includes like the 9 counties, okay, around Jacksonville area, which is the Jacksonville metro. So that's why you have that difference. Okay, sold 578, okay, we're down just a little bit, but it's still strong. That's still strong. Now it's a lot less than a year ago. We're dropped 23% less, but I'm telling you, in this market with these interest rates and these prices, to be at 578, that's 1 week, that's incredible. Okay, contingent, and last week it was almost the same at 581. Contingent taking back up, these are people under contract, 938. That's a little bit above what we were last week, but as you can see, a 23% increase from last year. Pending, 664, close to what we were last week, and that is down. There are less homes pending. But as far as total that are under contract, that is up by about 3.5%. Now, people that withdrew, 69, the same as last week, 69. As you can see, the previous week, 72 and 71, it's been about the same. Homes that have expired, less homes have expired here, 120, and it could be because of the inventory issues and less homes on the market, less choices, and more people are buying or paying those prices. What we got to do too is compare what that chart, and I'm going to show you the percentage of homes that sold above list, if that's changed. New homes sold, 150. All right, I mean, it's just going up. All right, it's just going up. New homes. And these new homes, aren't the cheapest things around. I mean, there are a lot of homes, they're part of what helps that chart that I show, 500 and above, that increase there, keeps that afloat. But there are some that are marketing some homes in the 300s that you can get, but people are gravitating towards new homes. Why? Because there's less inventory of the resale homes. So the new home market's picking up. And then look how many new homes are available. Okay, that was 1,708, and that is up from 1,644 before. And as you can see, these last few weeks, it's been gradually going up. So the customer out there that's looking to buy a home is starting to have progressively more choices with new homes, and that could be why we're seeing this increase come up. All right, now the next chart we're going to look at those homes to see the percentage that sold below list, at list, and above list, and how much a percentage of the homes sold were at $500,000 and above. Okay, here we are, season 2, week 7. We've got 26% of the homes sold were $500,000 and above. Same as last week. and staying close to the average for season 2 here. A little bit above some of those in season 1, as you can see. All right, homes that sold under list, 63%. That's a drop. Homes that sold at list, 17%, up a percentage there. But this is the kicker. Homes that sold above list, 20%. I've told you to watch this number. Watch it and look at back here from week 49 of season 1 all the way up. It's been increasing. We stayed at 15 for a while. I said watch it as it was creeping, and then we hit 20%. It'll be interesting to see what happens next week. But man, this percentage going above, that's what's driving down those days on the market, driving those prices up too. I mean, because as more people are putting in for above list, the competition's getting tighter. I mean, it's like 2021, what happened? Even though I say that that's what's coming by looking at this data, what we're tracking, I know I've got a lot of people out there saying it's not 2021 that's coming around the corner, it's 2008 to 2010, but we'll see. All right, but these numbers here, holy smokes, I didn't even think that we'd be seeing numbers like this right now. All right, let's look at some more charts. Okay, how did people pay for those homes? All right, 24% was cash, 45% conventional, FHA was 12%, VA 17%, we saw an increase, and others came in at 2%. Something, I don't know why I forget, I guess because I'm so anxious to get on with everything going, I forget those foreclosure numbers like in the MLS. So let's go back in there and let's look at what those foreclosures were in the MLS. All right, here you are, homes that are in active status that are for sale but are in foreclosed status, and that's 17. Okay, the homes that are in pre-foreclosure status that are in the actives is 14. And how many are in short sales? And that number's 14. All right, when we look at the chart for those now, we can see that there we were, 17 for the foreclosure, so we are down from last week's high there of 20. We saw several that were higher there, like 25 in week 1, then 20 again. All right, pre-foreclosures 14. Okay, that's up a bit. Short sales 14, up a little bit. Overall 45, so we're still doing good there. Now, I mean, this floodgate of foreclosures just hasn't happened. And of course, you know, the reason I've been given was because some people have so much equity in their homes that people that are behind in the payments. And last week, I showed you the percentages that were 90 days late. They can sell their house, okay? And then the money they get out of that, you know, what they got from the equity, they've got enough to rent for maybe a couple of years, okay, until they get back on track, or they just buy something smaller or go into a mobile home or something in some of the more rural areas. So there's different choices. All right, let's look at that new construction. Okay, new construction, 60% of the homes sold under list, 15% sold at list, and holy cow, 25% sold above list. Strong numbers again. We had that week 4 where it went up to 30. Last week it jumped up 23 and 25, so it's holding strong. We've really got to watch these numbers above list, okay? And that homes that sold under list, you can see that while it was the same as last week, it has been gradually going down over the past weeks, except for week 4 when it was 51%. And that's because we had a high amount that sold above list. All right. Something that you know that I was doing was I was showing these numbers in what was called MLS Advantage. It's another chart where we look at all the 9 counties from these other MLS boards that cross-sell and come into Northeast Florida MLS. And I even cross-sell myself. I'm in Northeast Florida, and I go into some of the others like Flagler, St. John's. I sell. So we do kind of mix together because we're so close. So I've mixed that in too. However, last week that they didn't update. By the time I'm filming this show, and so the numbers weren't correct. So what I had to do was go back in after they've updated, but after the show was already filmed, and I took those numbers and I plugged them in so that we can see. Same thing happened tonight. I'm looking at it. They haven't updated their numbers, so the numbers aren't correct. I don't know why they're doing this like this. I mean, for several weeks they were fine, but now, you know, I caught it. So right now let's go look and I'll show you what last week's were so you can compare those also with the 9 counties. Okay, here we are. In the yellow I put, that was week 6 last week's. Week 7's were empty now, so I'll have to it looks like I'm going to be a week behind in showing this, but we look at Baker County was 4, Union was 1, Bradford had 11, and you can see that was an increase from before. Clay at 96, it went up. Nassau went up to 84. Duval County 366, that's mainly Jacksonville itself, the city. St. John's 95, there was a big drop there. Don't know why. I mean, St. John's is a very popular area, but there are a lot more expensive homes and the prices are going up in that area. A lot of new construction there. Flagler 148, that went up. That pretty much you have your Palm Coast area there that dominates that. Putnam County, where you've got Palatka, your main thing there, and they jumped up 30. We had a total of 835. And that is just in 1 week, and that was last week when we were in the 500s for the others. So this is still incredible. 835 homes. I mean, it's still amazing. That many sold. I mean, with today's prices and interest rates, it's something else. So we really got to watch this. This is what I love about this show, is seeing these numbers, and these are the real numbers, okay, that come in. I don't make these up, okay? So I laugh when I get a thumbs down. All I'm doing is showing you real numbers. So give me a thumbs up to counter that. Okay, something else I want to mention too here is that I do have my weekly newsletter, so if you're interested in that, where I give you a little bit more than in the Bubble Watch here, where you can download my Excel spreadsheet with all the charts we just saw. You got all that, and then also, you know, the headlines, I give you that, and then a few other things too. So you get more stuff in it, and then also the houses of the week. I give you the MLS sheets, you know, for the complete MLS sheet there on the houses that you can see, and all you got to do is just email at this email address and say you want the weekly newsletter, and you'll be put on the list. All right, now we've got the houses of the week coming up, and that's where I look at a house that's sold below list and above list. And before that, I've got question of the week. And just like always, all right, like I say, hey, if you already know everything you need to know and you don't want to listen to the questions and just skip right on to the house of the week, that's fine. But for those of you that don't and want to hear what other people ask, here's the question of the week. This one comes from people that are with VA mortgages or FHA or USDA. You don't see a lot of USDA, but they're in there. But it would be in the same group. Now, what it is, these mortgages, okay, you know, are the government, you know, pretty much backs them, okay? So what happens is I get people, the question is, they find a house they like, it looks fine, but they say, well, how come they're not taking VA mortgages? How come it's only cash and conventional? Or if an FHA buyer, how come I can't buy it FHA? How come this house, they won't go FHA? And the reason being, all three of these, when they do an appraisal on them, it's like a mini inspection. Okay, they don't just appraise the house for what the value is for that house. They look at stuff too, like, you know, electrical, okay, they'll look at the condition of wood. They'll look at stuff, say, like on a mobile home, for instance, siding. You know, if it doesn't have the siding or if it got holes or torn, you can't, they won't pass it. And also like electrical issues, or most common though is wood rot around the soffits and fascia of the roof. And you see it sometimes around window frames and door frames, you'll have wood rot, or a deck. I've seen a deck where it was like, I'm telling you, that much rot at the end, and they said the deck boards had to be replaced, you know, for those there. So, and the problem is that some of these sellers, okay, the lender will say, okay, this is a lender requirement, these got to be fixed before we could do this. The people don't have the money to fix the house, okay? Some just don't want to, They don't want to deal with it. Okay, they're selling as is. They mean as is, nothing. They're not putting a dime into it. But some don't have the money to, okay, put into it. So that's why they end up going with just conventional or cash. And unfortunately, some people are left out. Even I get people who have VA mortgages, and they'll sit there and say, hey, you know what? I can fix it myself. I don't care. Yeah, but that's not the way it's set up. And the reason is not to stop you from getting a home. It's set up where the government wants to make sure that the house you're buying is in move-in condition to where you can live in it, okay? But they'll do have the requirements, like say, you got to have the screens. You know, if the windows don't have screens, it can be an issue and stuff like that. And maybe you can work out something with the lender where you can do it within so many days after the fact, and then the seller would give you a concession. If that's allowed and you can get that done, most sellers will give you the concession to get things fixed in a case like that so that they could sell the house. But they just don't have the cash to fix it before. So that's the problem. All right, let's look at the house of the week, and let's start off with that house that sold below list. Okay, this house here was listed for $446,990. It was on the market 97 days. They ended up reducing it down to $374,990. Ended up getting an offer for $359,000, and that's what it sold for, $359,000. So it's $87,900 below list. But it's even worse than that, because as much as they came down in price and sold at that, they gave $12,000 in concessions towards closing costs. And something else, this was a new house. That's right, this was new construction. Now we just saw where all there's like 20% were going above list and it's down. But I'm telling you, but still like 60% were below list. So there are deals out there that you can find. It depends, I guess, where you're at in the house and everything else. So that was something. So we don't have an appreciation calculator for this one because it was a new construction. All right, let's look at the house that sold above list. Okay, this house went on the market, $375,000, was on the market for 3 days. See, here we go. Those above list sales bring down those days on the market. And of course, they didn't reduce the price on this at all. And it ended up selling for $450,000. So $75,000 above list. It was a cash deal on the market 3 days. All right, let's go take a look and see what they paid for this house. Okay, well, this one here is a little bit harder to figure out. All right, for whatever reason, the county's just showing these two quitclaim deeds. All right, and that's generally like, it could be a family member, like if somebody inherited a house and this and that, or sold it off cheaper or something, I don't know. But to get an idea, I looked in down here to the mortgage amount. Okay, you see where the last sale date there was on January 12th, okay, 2021. Look down here, the mortgage date, January 12th, 2021. How much was the loan amount? $148. Okay, it was a conventional loan. So if we take out if we figure 20%, we don't know for sure, but say they went the 20% route, then that meant the house would have sold probably for $185,000. They put down 20% and mortgaged $148. So we're going to go with that. Okay, so now I'm going to put that in an appreciation calculator, and let's see how they made out. All right. Here we look at, we put in and we're here at goodcalculators.com, and we put in the purchase price we estimated was $185 when they bought it. Okay, and as you look down, and then sold it at $450, 2.5 years, 43%. Holy smokes! Now, when I was looking at the things that were being done to this house, in the narrative, all they showed was that the homeowner, the current homeowner, did a lot of landscaping and stuff outside. All right, but there were things like a roof, air conditioning, and some other things that were newer, but they weren't. They were done before this person got the house, so that wasn't put into that. But holy cow! I mean, it's the neighborhood where it's at, and like I says, you know, In my weekly email, I'll have the full MLS sheet on that if you were interested. All right, but I want to do something else. Let's put that 375. Okay, now they took this, it went way above list. But what if they sold it at list at 375? What was their appreciation? Okay, here we put in 375 for the appreciation, 33.26, okay? Still not bad, huh? So, I mean, looking at all these numbers this week, holy cow, you think you've got it figured out, and then the next week shows up and the next bubble watch comes and I show you the real numbers. Hey, you know what? Until week 8, I'm out of here.